Hey guys, how's it going? Don't know if you just watched my video on my colubrid Ridley's cave dwelling rat snake. I downloaded it a little while back. Anyway, as I said, I was going to make a video on dominant and incomplete dominant genes on ball pythons. I did make one over a week ago. I took the video down. There was some unnecessary information in there. And also did a bit more research, and two of my good breeding buddies from overseas also reached out to me with some more information. You know, I'm a new ball python breeder. I'm still learning. These videos are for the new ball python breeder. It's not for the advanced guys. And I like to share when I learn something to pass it on to another new aspiring breeder or breeders out there. So you don't make the same mistakes I did. You know, I haven't made many mistakes. I've made a couple, but yeah, you know, this is definitely for the new guys. I'm not a big breeder. I'm a small breeder. But I've got, you know, pretty respectable collection for the amount of time that I've been doing it. And I noticed that, and the reason why I'm doing this video, and I did, if those of you who watched know that I did do a video a couple of weeks back and I deleted it within probably about 24 hours. There was just some unnecessary information on that video. So this video is a trimmed down, simplified, more simplified version of that, so that it doesn't bore the hell out of you. But it's a very important topic, and the reason I'm making it is because I have gone back and watched a lot of my previous YouTube videos, and I've picked up mistakes that I have made on the way where I'm referring to certain snakes and their genetics. Most of them with using the incorrect terms to describe what genes they are: incomplete dominant, dominant, and also the term codominant, which is, since I found out, is actually an incorrect term to use. There's no really such thing as a codominant gene. In ball pythons, it's dominant, incomplete dominant, recessive, heterozygous. The guys do use the term codominant, and you know, some guys that are way ahead in the industry and me, and with 20, 30 years plus of experience, of, you know, the guys that I reach out to have said to me, it's wrong. It's not a term that should be used. There is no codominant. The term is used incorrectly, and I'm guilty of that myself. I've also made mistakes on some of my videos where I have said you can only get a super form of a gene by putting two incomplete dominants together, and not a dominant to a dominant, which is also incorrect. You can get a super form of any gene that you put together, and I'm going to go and I'm going to back it up with scientific fact here. One of my friends now, two friends actually, who live overseas, will split in like a big triangle. One of the guys, and shout out to you, Joe Tully from Tully's Out Regis Royals in the UK, and Rob Barakla from Royal Balls in Southeast Asia in Kuala Lumpur. Both these guys are authorities on ball pythons, breeding and genetics, and you know, they watch my videos and are helping me along the way on my ball python breeding journey. And you know, every time I say something or do something and it's maybe not 100% correct, Rob or Joe will get hold of me and in such a classy way correct it and explain in a really awesome way. This is what that means, and this is what that means. No judgment or anything like that. They know I'm a new breeder, but you know, I'm making these YouTube videos and I'm passing on information, so I don't want the stuff coming out of my mouth to be incorrect, and I don't want it to be garbage. And if I've made honest mistakes, and it's actually mistakes that I've also noticed that some breeders that have been doing it for years have made. You must understand that a lot of the information that I've passed on, I have regurgitated that information from people that I've watched and other breeders in South Africa that I've bought snakes from and learn from. Not all of them, I promise you, and I haven't bought from many breeders. I've got a very select few breeders that I will deal with and that I will purchase snakes from. And you know, the guys that I buy my snakes from now are at the top of the mountain. They're the top tier. Their knowledge and the way that they handle themselves and everything to do with bull python breeding, the trust, the absolute trust in what I'm purchasing, knowing that what I'm paying for is what I'm getting. Okay, so guys, this is all about incomplete and dominant genes, the differences in how it works, and it's to make right on some of the videos that I've made where I have botched up some of my descriptions in snakes. So I'm going to be reading a letter, WhatsApp messages, pretty in-depth WhatsApp messages that were sent to me from Rob in Southeast Asia, Royal Balls, Rob Barakla. The reason why I'm going to read it is because I can't remember everything's written down. It actually is, it's very complicated when you hear it for the first time. Okay, I tried to do this video before. I've tried to make it 3 times, and each time it's been like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So I'm literally going to try and run through this, and it's as I say, it's so that you guys also have this knowledge. This channel of mine is supposed to be an educational channel. It's a fun channel. It's a channel where all ball python breeders can come and share their passion. I love getting comments from all the followers. I don't have that many, but I'm hoping to get more. And it's open cards here with me. I make no secret about the fact that I'm going into my 2nd year of ball python breeding. I'm loving it. I'm learning as much as I can. I'm taking it all in like a sponge. And I'm so lucky to have guys like Joe Tully and Rob Barakla that help me and coach me along the way, and they're teaching me about genetics. So I'm going to pass on some information that will be invaluable to you new breeders out there about dominant and incomplete dominant genes. Okay, and I'm going to be just reading straight off a message that was sent to me, and I know you guys are going to find this incredibly insightful and very, very knowledgeable. And you know, to have somebody with like Rob and Joe that are willing to share this information and to help a new ball python breeder is amazing. I wish everybody had mentors like that. These guys have become mentors of mine. We live on opposite ends of the world, but we communicate daily, weekly, you know, via WhatsApp, and they just a world of information. Go follow their channels, go subscribe to them on YouTube, watch their videos. I'm just sharing one experience of mine with them where they've helped me incredibly. I'm not going to go into all the other details where they're helping me, but this is a video, as I say, about dominant and incomplete dominant genes. So here goes, and this is from Rob. Hi Carl, just to clarify, all genes work the same way. There are 2 slots on the locus of the double helix for 2 copies of any gene, whether it's recessive or incomplete dominant. A pastel, and he's using pastel as an example, okay, because yellow belly does exactly the same thing, but we're just going to use an incomplete dominant gene called pastel for the sake of this video, okay? All right, so it's not just pastel. There are other incomplete dominant genes that will fit into this, but we're just going to use pastel as an example. A pastel is the heterozygous form of a super pastel. There is 1 copy of the gene at the locus for pastel in a pastel. Hetero refers to the locus being different on each side, i.e. only 1 slot occupied. Homo refers to it being the same on each side, i.e. both slots occupied. We tend not to call single copy incomplete dominant genes like pastel by the label heterozygous because there's a visual expression. But heterozygous they are nonetheless. And just like a pod giving 1 copy of pod to all its offspring, a super pastel will give 1 copy of pastel to all its offspring. It's just that you can see 1 copy of pastel in the phenotype, but you can't see 1 copy of pod. With recessives like pod, we need 2 copies of the gene or the homozygous form to get a visual. However, when you breed a 100% heterocessive, the single copy of the gene is passed on 50% of the time. exactly as it would be in an incomplete dominant gene like pastel, and the offspring are referred to as 50% pos het. Half of them are het and half of them are not. They either have a copy of the gene or they don't. We just can't tell which ones because there's no visual expression. Theoretically, the ratios of visuals to non-visuals for the various pairing permutations is very predictable. Over time and multiple clutches, the ratios average out. Individual clutches will vary. For head-to-head visuals, you should get 50% visuals and 50% non-visuals. The non-visuals will be 100% het since one of the parents was a visual. For head-to-head pairings, it's actually not that great a probability of getting visuals. It's 1 to 4. For every visual, you'll get 3 normal-looking snakes, 2 of which will be het and 1 will not. So they're referred to as 66% het. Pair a pastel to a pastel and the ratios are identical to a head-to-head pairing. 1 normal, 2 pastels and 1 super pastel. The super form is 1 to 4 probability, just like a head-to-head pairing is 1 to 4 probability for a visual. 2 out of 3 remaining babies will be heterozygous pastel and 1 will be a normal, exactly as in a head-to-head pairing where 2 out of 3 non-visuals will be het and 1 will not. With pastel, you can see the heterozygous form because it has a visual expression. With pod, you cannot. Now, one of the projects that I'm working on this year is the exantic pod project. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with a parball gene, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with an exantic gene. There are many different types of the exantic line. Just to name a few: exantic VPI, exantic TSK, exantic MJ, exantic Jolliffe. There are a couple of others out there. I can't remember off the top of my head now. Exantic is a black and gray snake. When it's born, they're very, very black and gray. Okay. Pod, we all know pod is a white snake with saddles, and those saddles are usually brown, tanny colors with black markings around them. Now, they're both recessive genes. Pod and exantic are recessive, and when you add if you get a visual exantic pod, it's a white snake with black and gray saddles instead of them being brown and orange and tan saddles. Excuse me. That is a beautiful snake, and it's something that I'm working on. It's also referred to as a lightning pod, although there's a debate because a lot of the guys say that the lightning pod is actually the exantic MJ line, where I'm using the exantic VPR line. Call me out if you will, but I'm referring to my exantic VPR line bred to pod, the visuals as lightning pod. Whether it's a VPR or an MJ, as far as I'm concerned, it's exantic, and you're getting a black and white pod. Okay. However, exantic has a tendency on its own to brown out over time. It dulls out. The black and the grays dull and they become brown. So one of the things that I'm doing in my project is I'm adding genes into my pod project, my exantic pod project, to ensure that the blacks stay blacker. And one of the things that I was adding into it is pastel. Okay, pastel exantics tend to stay more black and grey, and they don't tend to brown out. However, they still do to a certain extent, but not as much. Okay, and I was chatting to Rob about this. I told him about my project, and he went on to tell me I can do even better. Okay, so obviously another gene that I was also talking about even before Rob sent this to me was fire, to add into the exantic project and the pastel project. Now, pastel and fire make a firefly. Now, Rob goes on to and he's just talking to me here. He didn't even know I was going to be making this video. I've since spoken to him and told him I'm going to be making this video. So he says, fire and firefly will do a much better job of stopping your exantics from browning out. Pastel on its own, in my experience, does not, but it depends on what line of pastel you have. Haven't tried it in exantic pods because I don't have any. So Rob's basically, confirming what I wanted to do by keeping the blacks blacker and stop it from browning out by adding pastel, but he's taking it one step further and saying, put fire into it as well. I'm taking it even further. I'm doing pastel and fire into my exantic pods. So I've got pastel pod 100% het exantic VPRs. I've got visual exantic pards. I've got double het, 100% het pard, 100% heterozygous, big breed of females. And then I've also recently acquired a visual fire pard female. So this is all work in progress, guys. In the next couple of years, 2 years time, I'll be producing visual firefly exantic pards. But it's not just going to stop there. We've got a lot going on, but you know, that's for another video. Okay. You know, when I uploaded my original video, which is not on YouTube, and I deleted it for various reasons, I deleted it because I did come across it in a little bit of a negative way about, you know, one or two breeders or something. I didn't mention names or anything like that, but it was totally unnecessary. My experiences with other people, you're not always going to have good experiences with other breeders. Not everybody's willing to share information. A lot of people keep their cards close to their chest. A lot of guys, they're not very. They don't want to be transparent. They don't want other guys to jump on the bandwagon, and it's perfectly understandable. You know, if you're trying to produce a snake that nobody else has produced, you don't want to lose out. You want to be the first to produce it, and you want to sell that snake. You want to get the top price for it, and you won't get that if there's 200 other guys producing the same snake. Okay, now I'm such a new breeder that I'm not really in competition with anybody, so I'll openly talk about the projects that I'm going to be doing, because other people have done them already. I'm not doing anything new. The only time I will ever keep a project to myself, and I've said this before on my YouTube videos and previous videos, is that I'm working on a world's first. If I know it's a world's first, of course I'm going to keep that close to my chest. I'll tell you on the video, I'm busy working on a project, and if it proves out it's going to be a world's first, and I'm not going to tell anybody what it is until I've produced it. And when it's, you know, done and I'm ready to pair and I'm ready to breed, I will. But the whole object of my channel is to show people, okay, I've produced this animal and I've produced this male, this female, I'm going to pair them together, and I've produced these hatchlings, and guess what, guys, it's a world's first. And instead of me just advertising that snake on YouTube or Morph Market, Instagram, wherever, our snake forums, and people just taking my word for it, they would already know that it's been a 4 or an 8 year project, depending on how long it's taken to produce this snake. It's all about transparency with me. So, yeah, okay, so these videos that I'm doing, the reason why I'm redoing it is because I'm trying to keep it uplifting, educational, upbeat. I don't want to say any negative things about any other breeders, how they breed their snakes and how they want to pass their information is to other people that follow them, is up to them. If they don't want to have a social media presence or a YouTube channel and they want to keep everything, you know, to themselves, that's 100% their choice. I've always said, you do you, bro. I'll do me. You know, maybe I've taken a little bit of flack because I'm such a new breeder, but I'm so out there now with my YouTube channels, and I'm a very outspoken person. I always have been and I always will be. Some of the more established guys probably raise a bit of an eyebrow and going, look at this new breeder, you know, shouting his mouth off, and it's not that at all, guys. I've got an absolute passion for this. I love doing it, and I want to share whatever I learn. I want to share it with specifically the new breeder. You know, these videos that I'm making and what I'm talking about, it's old news for the established breeders, you know, but you're more than welcome to watch. And if there's something that I've made a mistake on and you're an established breeder, you know, reach out to me, drop a comment in the comment section below, and be cool about it and correct me. Constructive criticism is always welcome on my channel. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to try and teach people what I've learned from other top breeders as well. There's a lot of guys that don't want to teach other guys. They just want to sell the snakes, and once it's out of their possession, that you've got to wing it, and you've got to learn the genetics, you've got to learn your pairings, you've got to learn what lethal combinations aren't and what are. And you know, some people don't want to tell you what snakes to breed and what to pair because it might affect their breeding program. And you know, you must understand, if you're buying from that person already has those genetics. So, but they years ahead of you, but you could catch up. Some people don't want that, you know, but so they won't really be that forthcoming about, you know, giving you the best possible advice when it comes to pairing snakes so that you can breed the best possible combinations, because obviously the better the snake is, the more money you can get for it, and nobody wants competition. However, I've got this philosophy of the more breeders in the industry, the better, because, and I've said this, I don't know in how many videos, breeders are your best customers. You are not selling to a pet shop. Guys like us are breeding to sell high-end genetics snakes to other breeders that don't maybe have that morph, that combination that they have a male for or a female for, and they will spend top dollar with you. You've spent 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years producing a snake that they haven't, and they can get it straight away from you, and you'll get top dollar for that snake, okay? So the pet shops, those are the guys that are buying one snake. The pet shops will buy multiple, but they're selling to a guy that will walk in with his son or his daughter, like I've said in my previous video, walk in there, buy one snake and walk out. That's not who we're targeting. We're targeting breeders that are going to buy 10, 20 snakes from you at a time in like one batch. Like I'll take 2 of those, 3 of those, 5 of those. And you know, if it's a very expensive snake like I've just recently bought, I'll take 1 of those for now, and then I'll take another one in a couple of months time, and then, you know, at the end of maybe after 2 years or a year, you're sitting with a collection of over 125 snakes like I've got sitting now, and a couple of 100,000 rand spent with some, you know, fortunate breeder that made some money from me. More than one now. I've got my breeders that I'll buy from, and there's a couple of other breeders that I do intend to buy from in the near future. At the moment, I haven't bought from them because the snakes that they are selling are so high end and so expensive. I can't afford them right now. I've spent pretty much, I'm tapped out over the last year of what I have spent. And I have bought very good snakes, but the bulk of them are sub-adults and juveniles. Only very few of the snakes that I'm breeding this year are top tier snakes. Next year, however, I'll be breeding very high-end snakes, very, very high-end snakes in my 2023 breeding season. And my 2024 breeding season is going to be literally off the charts. And I will stick my neck out here as a new breeder going into my second year, saying, you must understand that I have my entire game plan, and my breeding project is based on a 4-year business model, 4 to 6 to 8 year business model of what I'm going to be producing. But where I'll make my mark in the industry is probably still 3 to 4 years away. Okay, right, so let's carry on. Now, what's the difference between a dominant gene and an incomplete dominant gene? You will often hear that dominant genes have no superform, and this is simply not true. You already understand that every gene or genetic modifier can exist in heterozygous form, which is 1 copy, or homozygous form, which is 2 copies. Well, dominant and incomplete dominant are no different actually. Room on the double helix locus for 2 copies. What is different is that dominant genes achieve their full visual expression in their heterozygous form, 1 copy of the gene. Adding a 2nd copy of the gene makes no visual difference, or is actually not viable, and it dies in the egg. Okay. Pinstripe is a classic example, not being lethal or dies in the egg, but pinstripe is a classic example of a dominant pairing to a dominant to form a super. That's not lethal. Pinstripe to pinstripe has a 1 in 4 chance of creating the super form, but you won't recognize it because it looks the same as a normal pinstripe. The only way you would know it's a super pinstripe is if all the offspring are pinstripes, no normals. David Suarez has a female super pinstripe. She has thrown all pinstripes every year for years. She's a proven super pinstripe. Where the confusion arises is that some dominant genes have superforms that are non-viable. They carry defects which, when doubled up, can be lethal. They don't survive and always die in the egg, which is why we never see them, and the myth that they don't exist is purely a visual one. Never seen one, therefore they don't exist. Not true, okay? Spider and champagne are 2 classic examples. 1 of 4 of the babies in spider to spider is a super spider. It dies in the egg. 99.999% of the time. There is, and I'm going to go later on in the video, there has been a super spider hatched, born, and survived for a while, okay, but then did die. It dies in the egg. Never makes it to full development, so we have no clue what they look like. Same for champagne. 1 in 4 of champagne to champagne is a super, but dies in the egg. Note, the rest of the clutch, the non-supers will be fine and hatch as normal. But it isn't true that they don't exist. Dominant to dominant can create a super form. It's just that it's lethal in most cases. So all, and in capital letters here from Rob, all genes, dominant, incomplete dominant, and recessive exists in heterozygous and homozygous forms. And to some extent, it's more of a continuum, and the distinction is artificial. Recessive, 1 copy, het, no or very little visual expression. 2 copies, homozygous, is actually required to see the visual expression. So you need two visual recessives paired together to get a visual, okay? And then obviously het to het, 100% het to 100% het, you got a 1 in 4 chance, okay? Incomplete dominant, 1 copy, het, and easily recognized visual expression. 2 copies, homozygous, full visual expression of the gene. Dominant, 1 copy, het, full visual expression. 2 copies, homozygous, no visual change from a het or a lethal combination that doesn't hatch. Superforms or visual recessives are all homozygous and pass on a single copy of their gene every time. A recessive het or a heterozygous incomplete dominant or dominant morph will pass on a single copy of the gene half the time. Okay, so guys, that is everything you need to know pretty much about dominant and incomplete dominant genes and the superform, and heterozygous genes, 100% het, 66% het, and 50% het. This comes from the man himself, Rob Barakla from Royal Balls, okay? Incredibly intelligent man when it comes to ball python breeding. Probably one of the most underrated. I watch his YouTube channel. I don't know why the guy doesn't have hundreds of thousands of followers, but yeah, maybe he's just below key and whatever. But let me tell you, I've watched YouTube videos that guys that have got hundreds of thousands of followers, and I watch Rob's videos and Joe's videos where he's got a couple of thousand followers, and you know, these two guys put those guys to shame when it comes to knowledge on ball python breeding. But you know, some guys, you know, they just, you got to have the I don't know what it is. You know, some guys really go out of their way to make YouTube content, and there's algorithms that go with it. I'm brand new to this. I've got not even 300 followers. I've got 250 or 70 or whatever. I don't even know how many followers I've got, under 300. And I've been doing it for a couple of months. And as I started this channel, my son actually asked me to start this YouTube channel for snakes, you know, and I didn't want to do it. And then I thought to myself, well, you know, I've turned it in, this is a sideline hobby business for me. I want to turn it into something that can make money. It's a passion, and maybe have a secondary income. I'm wearing one of my work shirts. It's Saturday. I got a call out. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. KSP is my primary business, KwaZulu Skip and Plant. I do industrial plant hire, those skip bins and industrial waste removal, and those skid steers, and you know, that load you know, into these bins, and we take the waste away and dispose of it. And I'm wearing this shirt today because this is what I wear for work every day. I had a call out. I had to go to one of my construction sites to go and sort out an issue there that we had with a piece of machinery, and I came back and decided to throw a quick video together, and I didn't change out of my work clothes. So I have two passions in my life. This one pays for this at the moment, because I haven't been in the industry long enough and bred enough snakes to sell, to subsidize my snake breeding hobby, my ball python breeding hobby. And it's not just ball pythons, we're breeding retics as well, although we haven't done a retic breeding season yet. Next year will be my first year breeding retics. I have got 4 retics. The one female will be breeding ready next year, and then in 2 years' time, the other females will be ready. They're going to be around about the 4-year mark, 3.5, 4-year mark before we breed them. But the bulk of the snakes here, 99% of them are ball pythons, and this year is our 2nd year breeding, and we are have literally from last year's breeding season where I had 8 adult females to breed and 3 males. This year we are there's over 125 snakes in here. Obviously a lot of them are yearlings and sub-adults that are not going to be breeding, but there's probably about 40 adult female ball pythons here to breed, and then I have a selection of around about 15 to 20 adult males, some of them proven breeders, some that are breeding ready this year, to choose from to pair up with all of these females. This entire wall here is all adult female ball pythons that have either bred and are proven breeders or ready to breed this year. Some of them will be first time breeders, and we don't know if they're going to go or not. We're going to see. But there's really, really good genes in here. However, in some racks that you can't see behind you, I have a hatchling rack where we've got incredible snakes, and another rack behind there we've got yearlings, sub-adults that will be breeding next year and the year after. And that rack over there, which you can't see, is the crown jewel of my collection at the moment, a male powerhouse that will breed next year, which will just make my 2023 breeding season off the charts. And actually, while I'm talking about him, I'm going to pull him out. He ate, but it was 24 hours ago, so it's quite safe to hold. He's a bit chunky. You can see how nice and fat he is. Okay, he's child a nice rat. This is the crown jewel in my ball python breeding collection. This is a pastel pinstripe spot nose desert ghost 100% het hypo male. Okay, it is the most expensive snake that I've ever bought, and it's an investment, and it's for next year's breeding season. And he is in he doesn't want to go back. I have quite a few top tier adult multi-gene snakes in that rack over there that are all planned for some incredible females. Those males will not be breeding this year. They're for next year's season. There's a bunch in there. I'm not going to go too much on them. There's a couple of males in there. We obviously have way more females than males. So, you know, the males must be, in my book, the way I'm doing it is the males got the super, super high end visual genes, and then a lot of females up 5 to 6 is where I like to keep the ratio of females to males. And we've got a lot of females to choose from. Unfortunately, I don't have a visual desert ghost female yet. However, I've got a couple of 100% het desert ghost females that have got other incomplete dominant genes in them, which will be pairing this year to a 5-year-old single gene male proven breeder desert ghost, which will hopefully produce in these 2 racks over here. I've got pastel bamboo 100% het desert ghost females. These 2 here, they're 2.5 years old. They're ready to breed for the first time this year. They're going to a single gene male desert ghost. Hopefully I hit bamboo pastel visual desert ghosts. We'll see. That's just the tip of the iceberg, guys. That's just the tip of the iceberg for us. Okay, I'm not going to go off about I could sit here for 2 hours and try and just tell you about every single snake in my collection and what we've got planned. But I think it's no secret that I'm a massive pard fan. We've got a huge pard project going on at the moment. Not just the exantic pard, but other combinations of pard as well, where we're throwing a lot of brightening genes into it. So, and then another project, Desert Ghost, And another project that is very close to my heart, which we'll be producing next year, is the Grail project, and following that the year after, the Holy Grail project. You guys can Google that and see what that means. But I have the snakes for them, but they're just youngsters, they're yearlings, they're not ready to breed yet, but they are investments that I have made for 2023, 2024 and 2025, because when I do breed them, the real prize are the offspring of those snakes breeding when they are breeding ready. Okay, so all recessives and many years in the making. All right, I'm not looking at making any money this year. Really, I'm just looking at growing my projects and focusing on double and triple hits, and next year quadruple hits, the year after that, and then producing the visuals of those. I'll be producing double recessive visual hits, and next year triples, and the year after that triples, and then hopefully quadruples. I don't know how long it's going to take me, how long is a piece of string, how deep is a hole, nobody knows. But that's what we have planned here. My target market are high-end breeders that will one day maybe stand up and take notice of me and realize that I take things very seriously. If I do a project, I throw myself into it, I immerse myself into my work. I give it 110%, and my goal is to produce nothing less than superior quality ball pythons, and sell them to you if you are going to be one of my future customers, and for you to leave my facility with a snake that is off the charts, and for you to have a smile that stretches from ear to ear. That is the goal, and to share whatever I learned with you on this journey that I'm currently going through now. And guys, this is all about learning. Even the guys, I said it before, the guys that have been doing it for 10 years, they're still learning. And guys that have been doing it for 20 years, they learn something new each year. Every single year, there's world's first being made. That is why this industry is so exciting. It is so fantastic. It's because there literally isn't an end to it. There's always going to be a new gene and a new morph, and you're always going to be able to create something new and pair it to something else and create a brand new morph. And that is what is so amazing about breeding ball pythons. It's just such a fantastic industry. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, huge shout out to Rob Barakla for all this valuable information, and thanks for being such a stand-up guy and taking the time to send me all of this information and help me on my breeding journey. Rob is also helping me with my breeding projects. He's advising me of which snakes to buy and to keep, which to sell, which to pair together. It's a work in progress. And he's doing it just for the love of the industry, the love of the ball python industry. He expects nothing back. He just loves to share his information. Joe is the same. He's a world of knowledge. You go on to Joe Tully's YouTube channel, give his videos a watch. Guy is also off the charts knowledgeable about ball pythons, and I've learned a lot from those two guys. There's also two other breeders that I hold in high esteem here in South Africa, and I want to give them a shout out too. These are my go-to guys here in my own country. Ant McKenzie from Mac Morphs, and Michael Jones from Jones Boys. Those two guys, in my books, great. There's a couple of other breeders out there I've just started doing business with. I haven't I'm not friends enough with them, if that's a correct term, for me to do a shout out for them on my YouTube channel yet. It's disrespectful to just mention people's names. I've always asked the guys that I do business with, are you okay if I do a shout out and I mention your name in one of my YouTube videos, or if I post on Instagram? And I always get their permission first, and it's always a thumbs up. I have bought some incredible snakes from other top breeders here in South Africa, and one day I'm going to pull those snakes out and show you. They're in those racks behind the camera there. Stunning snakes, unbelievable snakes, and I will be mentioning their names as well in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, maybe even the next couple of weeks when I share those those snakes and what those projects are for. Real respected top breeders here in South Africa. Guys, you know, South Africa have got some top tier breeders. I know we're years behind America and Europe, but make no mistake, there's guys here that really know their stuff, and we're lucky to have them in the industry. Anyway, guys, from me, Cole, North Coast Constrictors, I wish you a happy, good, safe weekend, and maybe I'm just going to get out of my work kit and chill out a little bit and spend some time with my son. So guys, until the next video, catch you later.